Welcome to the Provider Enrollment Application Guide. This presentation is meant to help you enroll as a provider with Medicaid. To sign up as a Medicaid provider, you will need to complete an enrollment application online in the Provider Enrollment portal. In this video, you will be shown the application process step by step just like you will complete it in the portal. Let's get started by accessing the enrollment application. The application is on the Arkansas Medicaid Provider Portal website. On the site, you will click the provider link on the left side of the page. Click on Enrollment Application. This takes you to the Start Enrollment page. Here you will be prompted to enter your enrollment type, which can be atypical, such as personal care providers, or transportation, group, which could be a physician group, hospital, pharmacy, or lab, individual, including physicians, dentists, or nurse practitioners, or individual within group, renders services as part of a group practice. Then choose your provider type and specialty. You can find your provider type and specialty in the Required Documents Finder. Enter an NPI, if required, and lastly, tax ID. Individual applications must use the Social Security number as the tax ID, while group applications use a tax ID or EIN. You can find your tax ID on your IRS letter. After completing these fields, click Continue, and you will be navigated to the enrollment application page. You have completed the steps to access enrollment and will now enter the application, starting on the Welcome page. The Welcome page provides an overview of the enrollment process and shows the information you should have ready before you begin. The application is organized into pages listed in the menu along the left side. You will complete the application step by step as you move through the pages. To complete this page, carefully read the instructions at the top, which cover the federal and state regulatory requirements for entering into or renewing a provider agreement with the Medical Assistance Program. The instructions also provide the information you'll need to have on hand to complete your application, including your National Provider Identifier, full address, with ZIP +4, taxonomy codes, tax ID number, and license number. You'll also see a list of documents that must be attached to the application. These are based on your provider type. You'll need electronic copies of these documents. If you only have paper copies, scan them and save the digital versions on your computer. You'll upload them in a later step of the application. After ensuring you have the required information and digital copies of your documents, click Continue to begin the enrollment application. Next is the Request Information page. Complete the fields on the screen. You'll notice that some fields have asterisks next to them. You will see this throughout the application. The fields with asterisks are required and they must be filled in order to submit the application, if applicable based on your provider type. Enter all applicable information in the Group Association section, including the Medicaid Provider ID and group effective date, and select Add. Enter all applicable information in the Provider Information section. Enter the NPI, zip code +4, and primary taxonomy. Then, ensure the tax ID field is populated. During enrollment, this field auto-populates and cannot be changed. The tax ID displayed will be either an employee identification number or a Social Security number. For group enrollments, the tax ID listed will require the corresponding IRS letter to be uploaded in a later step. Next, enter the effective date for the tax ID. You may enter a requested effective date up to 1 year in the past or use the current date. And choose the fiscal end date. Complete the contact information section. You must be sure to use a valid phone number and email address for correspondence. Then create a password and answer the security questions. This will create your login for the provider portal. When done, click Continue. A tracking information dialog box will appear. This will give the application tracking number that has been assigned to this application. You will also receive an email with the tracking number, as well as a link back to the provider portal. To continue the application, click OK. The next page is Specialties. On the Specialties page, the specialty you selected from the required documents finder prior to starting your application will be populated. You can add as many specialties as needed. To begin, click the plus sign to add another specialty. Then enter your 2-digit specialty code. If you do not know your specialty code, you can begin to type the name and options will populate in a drop-down. Choose the specialty from the list, then click the Add button. Repeat these steps for any additional specialties. And remember that at least one specialty must be listed as primary. Additional taxonomy should only be completed by providers who use more than one taxonomy code. If you use only one taxonomy code, leave this section blank and continue. If additional codes are needed, click to add them, enter each code, and select Add. When you are finished on the Specialties page, select Continue. Next is the Addresses page. Use the Addresses page to add all addresses associated with the provider. There are 4 address types, but the following 2 address types are required at minimum. Service location and pay to. To start, choose Service location. Enter the service location contact information. After entering this information, you must verify the address before clicking to add it. A dialog box will appear noting whether the address has been entered in a valid format. If you want to use the address suggested by USPS, click Select. Otherwise, click Cancel. When entering a service location address, you'll also need to complete the service location information section. You are required to select an option from the Accepting New Patients drop-down. You must also select which, if any, facility accommodations you have. To select a continuous group of options, hold down the Shift key and click the first and last option in the range. This selects all options in between. Use this method only when none of the items in the range need to be skipped. To select multiple individual options that are not in one continuous row, hold down the Control key while clicking each option you want to select. Finally, make a choice on whether you offer telehealth accommodations. Then click the Add button. Next, enter a pay to address. To add an additional address, click the plus button and follow the same process. If the address is the same, you can click Copy before you click the plus button to copy the address to another address type. You also have the option to remove an address if one is added by mistake. Click OK to save the copied data. Choose the other required option, Pay to. Repeat the process for any other address types needed. Once finished adding addresses, click Continue. The next page is Provider Identification. For provider identification, enter all applicable information for the enrolling provider. Enter the enrolling provider's first and last name. Include a middle initial if it appears on the official tax record. In the tax name field, enter the individual provider's legal name. For group enrollments, enter the DBA name, ensuring it matches the DBA registered with the state of the enrolling provider. For individual providers, choose the gender and birth date. In the license section, add a license by entering all applicable information. If you do not know the license issuing board, select Unknown from the drop-down. Click the Add button after entering the license information. For all additional licenses, use the plus button. Then, complete the fields and click the Add button. Complete the Medicare participation section as required if it is applicable to your provider type. If the section is not required, you do not need to add information even though there are red asterisks. Complete the CLIA certification and/or DEA number sections as required if they are applicable to your provider type. If they are not required, you do not need to add information even though the fields have red asterisks. When done, click Continue. The next page is Languages. Select a language from the drop-down menu. The effective date is the date of the application. The expiration date is the default open date of December 31, 2299. Once complete, click Continue. Next is EFT, Electronic Funds Transfer, Enrollment. Here you will enter the information required to have Medicaid payments electronically deposited into your bank account. Commonly known as direct deposit. Medicaid only submits payment to providers using direct deposit, so you must sign up for it if you plan to bill Medicaid. This includes all individuals and groups. In a later step, you'll need to upload either a voided check or a bank letter to verify the bank account you list in EFT enrollment. The name on the check or bank letter must match the name of the applicant. For more information, see the required documents finder. For individual within a group enrollment, select No if you are not part of a group practice and payments need to be directed to the group. You will be required to upload a Section 4 form. Complete all required fields and click Continue. Let's look at the other information in the addendums pages. For other information, only enter applicable information. If your provider type does not have any certifications, you will not enter anything in the board certification section regardless of the red asterisks. If your provider type does require a certification, enter all data, complete the fields for each board certification and click Add. In additional information, if you have a website address, enter it ensuring that you begin with http:// or https://. Then click Continue. If any addendums are needed, they will be listed here. Any addendums listed must be completed before continuing. If needed, choose the appropriate ownership type for the enrolling provider. If nothing is listed, click Continue. Let's look at the ownership page. When enrolling as an individual or as an individual within a group, you do not need to list a type of ownership. From the Ownership Type drop-down, select None and click Save. For group enrollments, please note all owners with 5% or more ownership must be listed. For each, you must select the appropriate ownership type, such as individual, organization, or another type, and complete the required fields. For the effective date, use the date shown on the owner's IRS letter. An IRS letter must be uploaded in a later step. Add and save information for all owners with 5% or more ownership. Then, enter individual relationships if applicable. Otherwise, click Continue. Let's look at the disclosure page. On the disclosure page, click each disclosure name to open it and select a response. Let's start with managing employees. If you are enrolling as an individual provider, select No in the Managing Employees section. If you are enrolling a group, select Yes and enter the information of the manager at that location. Click Add, then click Submit. After submitting, you will be navigated back to the disclosure page. Proceed to the EPSDT section. Here, make a selection indicating that you fall into one of the following categories. You accept the terms of the EPSDT agreement. You are a hospitalist and exempt from the EPSDT program. You are a provider in a bordering state and do not wish to participate in the EPSDT program. You do not wish to provide EPSDT services. Next is significant business transactions. The questions here are required by federal law and help ensure transparency in ownership and financial relationships. After answering the questions, you must also certify that the information you provide is true and accurate. Each item will show a status of completed once finished. After all required items are completed, click Continue. Let's look at the Attachments and Fees page. On the Attachments and Fees page, the Attachments section allows you to upload all required documentation for the application. Before you begin, refer to the required information and documentation, the document specifications, and the Required Documents Finder for a full list of required attachments and their requirements. For each attachment, start by selecting the transmission method. Choose Electronic only. This will activate the Upload File field. You will return to this field after completing the other fields. You should always upload the file last to make sure it attaches properly. Next, select the attachment type from the drop-down menu. Below that, enter a brief description. Once those fields are completed, return to the Upload File field. Click Select and attach the file from your computer. Each file must be 5 megabytes or smaller. Repeat this process until all required documents have been uploaded. All required documents except fingerprints must be uploaded before you can continue the application. This ensures timely processing. Any attachment types marked as optional do not need to be uploaded. If your provider type requires an application fee, follow the instructions on the screen to submit payment. When everything is complete, click Continue. On the contract page, read the agreement terms in full. Then, in the agreement section below, click the I accept checkbox to indicate your agreement to all terms. Next, type your name in the Your Signature field. The typed name serves as a legally binding signature. For group enrollments, only persons authorized to sign on behalf of the group should complete this application and sign electronically. After signing the contract, click Continue. Let's go through the summary page. After submitting, you will see a summary of the application that you can review. You can also print a copy of the application for your records. If you see any errors on the application, follow the instructions for summary page to make changes. If the application is correct, click Confirm. A dialog box will pop up asking if you have printed a copy of the application for your records. You can click Cancel if you still need to print, or you can click OK to submit the application. The last page of the application will give you the tracking number. You'll also get this number in a confirmation email. When done, click the Exit button to exit the application. If you later need to check the status of a submitted application, including the status of your ATN and if you're enrolled, you can do so from the home page by clicking the provider link on the left side of the home page. On the provider enrollment page, click the enrollment status link. In the fields on the enrollment status page, type the tracking number received at the beginning of the enrollment process, the tax ID and the date of birth. You will see a summary of the application status below. If the application has been RTP'd or returned to provider, you will see a list of any documents that must be corrected and resubmitted next to the Notes heading. In the next section we'll walk through how to resubmit documents. When you check the status of a submitted application, you may find you need to resubmit some of the documents. Let's cover the process. First, make the necessary corrections to your documents and save them on your computer. Then, go to the Provider Enrollment section of the portal and click Resume Application. Enter your tracking number, tax ID and your password. Once in the application, you'll need to click the Continue button on each page to navigate through the application. Once you reach the Attachments and Fees page, upload the corrected documents. Then navigate to the end of the application and click Confirm. Here are some tips to remember when completing an enrollment application. W-9 requirements. If you're an individual provider, you must list your Social Security number on the W-9 form. Arkansas Medicaid does not use the W-9 for billing purposes, it is used only to identify you as the enrolling provider. If enrolling as an individual, such as a physician, you should use your Social Security number throughout the application, not a tax ID. If enrolling a group, only the tax ID needs to be listed throughout the application and on the W-9. Red asterisks. The online application may display red asterisks in fields that do not apply to a provider's type. If a field does not apply, you should ignore the asterisk, leave the field blank, and continue. Passwords and security questions. You must remember your password and the answers to your security questions for the online application. These cannot be reset or recovered. A future enhancement will allow you to reset your passwords directly through the portal. Until then, if you're unable to regain access to your ATN because you forgot your password, you should contact the call center for assistance. Updates. All updates must include your 9-digit Arkansas Medicaid provider number. Updates are processed within 48 hours of being received. Provider Enrollment does not send update confirmations. To confirm that your update was received and processed, you must follow up with Provider Enrollment. Active versus inactive provider numbers. If your provider number is active, upload updates directly to the provider portal. If your provider number is not active, submit updates through Return to Provider, RTP. After submission, a Provider Enrollment Analyst reviews the application. If additional information or corrections are needed, the application is returned to you through RTP. You will make the requested updates and resubmit the application. Once the application is approved and your provider number is active, you can submit updates through the provider portal. Signature requirements. If you are an individual provider, you must sign your own documents. For example, the provider's signature must appear on the address change form, not a lawyer's signature. EFT, direct deposit, requirements. When submitting an EFT form, the name on the voided check or bank letter must match the name of the enrolling provider. PCP form requirements. If you are a primary care provider, when completing the PCP form, you may select up to 20 counties. You may also indicate how managed care fees should be paid. Managed care fees may be paid either to your individual provider number or to the group you're linked to. If fees are paid to an individual number, the quarterly managed care fee checks will be issued to the individual, not the group. Atypical providers. If you are an atypical provider, you do not require an NPI number. These provider types include autism, AR choices, ACS waiver, independent choices, domiciliary care, transportation specialties, TC and TD, and personal care. Thank you for completing this training. You should now be familiar with how to navigate the provider enrollment portal and submit an enrollment application.